Okay, so here's an example using the same template as before, so just ignore this up here, okay? Let's look at the popper, right? This is one of the ones that you have on the worksheet for homework, okay? So let's look at the popper, all right? So in the popper, right, I might have like the table, the popper, the earth down here, right, and the popper in the table, okay? And maybe my hands, depending on when I want to look. Oh, I gotta have to draw a better hand. Looks like a thumbs down, but actually no, okay? All right, so system schema, we have the popper, the table, the earth, okay? And maybe the hand. Let's decide how we want to do the analysis, okay? All right. And then you have to decide what should be in your system. So at least the popper and the earth, okay? But let's go ahead and put the table in there also. All right, so popper, earth, and table. Okay, so the popper is interacting with the table and the earth, and then the table's interacting with the earth. Okay, and we'll decide about the hand in a minute. All right, okay, so if I want my first state diagram, okay, to be where the popper is unpopped, right? So then I guess I'll just maybe draw it facing like this, right? Okay, the popper is like just resting there, okay? If the popper is just resting there, all right, I can make the ground anywhere I want. So if I want to make the actual EG equals 0 level at the floor, I can do that, okay? But it's usually easier to make it at the lowest position it will be, okay? So I'm going to kind of call this level my EG equals 0, right? So arbitrarily, I'm going to choose that means a 0 separation from the earth, okay? Because you can kind of pick that wherever you want that to be, all right? So I'm going to have no EG. It's not moving. Nothing is stretched, okay? So I have no energy right now. So that's kind of an issue, okay? Because I want something to happen, right? So what do I have to do in order to get something to happen with the popper, right? I'm going to have to use my hand, right, here, okay, to sort of stretch out that popper, all right? So it's still going to be at that 0 level. It's still not moving, but now I'm going to give it some amount of elastic energy, okay, because it's going to be in that stretched out position ready to pop, okay? So if I end up with 5 bars of energy here, but here I have 0, all right? So remember, that's not allowed. So if I want to give the popper that amount of energy, I have to input some energy into the system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, in the form of work, right? My hand is going to do work on the popper to stretch it out and kind of get it loaded up, ready to spring back. Okay, so that's going to be work done by the hand. So if I want to do the analysis like this, I need the hand to cross that system boundary and get interacting with the popper. Okay, so my hand does work on the popper to stretch it out. So now it has elastic energy. Okay, and then there's many places you can pick for the final state. Okay, I'm going to pick somewhat up in the air. Whoops, I didn't want to draw that right there. Okay, so on the way up, right? Not at the top yet. Not at top yet. That's where I'm going to choose my analysis, not at the top yet. Okay, right? And there's no real rubbing that's happening anywhere, so there's not really going to be any thermal energy in this one. Sometimes there's some like rubbing with the air, right? But usually we just ignore that because it's usually small. Okay, all right. So now I see if I'm looking at this table level, right? The popper is now higher than it was before, so I'm going to need to add some, EG into the system. Okay, and it's on the way up, so it's moving. So if I have 2 here, and I know I need 5 total, I'm going to have 3 EKs. Okay, that's going to make 5, right? Because I'm not going to have any elastic anymore because the popper is already unpopped, right? It's not stretched anymore. It's back to normal, like kind of like its neutral state. Okay, so this would be on the way up. Okay, all right. If you wanted to do the analysis differently, right? Okay, say you wanted to do it differently. Maybe you don't care about how the popper got stretched out, right? Maybe you want to just start assuming that it's already stretched out. Okay, so maybe we want to start looking where it's already stretched out because I don't really want to deal with, the work that it took to stretch it out. I just want to look here where it already has 5 bars of EE. Okay, and again, you can have 4, 3, whatever. Okay. All right. And then maybe here, right, maybe I want to look at when it's at the very top, right? It's like kind of at the peak that it's going to be at. Okay. So that's another way you could do it. And in that case, it would not be moving because it's at the top. It's about to turn around. It's not stretched, right? So in that position, all of the energy would be EG. Okay. And you can just, I'm not going to write every single thing here, right? Pop or table earth, whatever. Okay. Pop or table earth. Okay. And now there's nothing coming in or out of the system here, right? No arrows here because nothing is being input into the system. Once it's all loaded up, it kind of can go on its own. Okay. So it starts with elastic. It finally gets to the top. Okay. And then we can do any position maybe on the way back down where it'd be partially EG, partially EK. All right. Or at some point, right, it's going to end up hitting the table and then just kind of stopping there, right? Like at some point when it lands, okay, it's going to stop bouncing around and everything, right? Okay. And in that case, right, it would be on the quote unquote ground at that ground level and not moving and not stretched out, right? So that energy had to go somewhere. So normally what we say is that energy has all been converted to thermal, right? Because in that collision, right, it's not really a rubbing, but in that harsh collision with the table, right, it sort of like bangs around the molecules in the table and they kind of shake, which is what we call temperature. That makes it hotter. And then eventually, like, that motion is just kind of like done, right? It sort of like got hotter. Everything just kind of got a little bit hotter. And then we can't harness that back. So now the environment is just a touch hotter than it was before. And that's how that energy is stored, okay, by the time it's all over. And that would be 5 also, okay? All right, and then any number of positions in here, you can do any one that you want as long as you're clear about it, all right? So that's just another way you could analyze the popper. So you do it how you want, and then the other ones, you do those however you want. And then we'll talk about them next class.